Okay, take three. What's up, football fans? This is Big Al, and I'm late getting the week that was in the NFL, week 8, because I tried recording this twice, and this doggone tablet keeps turning off midway between taping, and this is driving me crazy. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna give you the scores, the team stats, and my picks, and that's it. I'm not going to go through the individual numbers, because at this rate, I'm up against the clock, and I really got to get week 9 off and running here, like, soon. So, let's jump right into it. The Atlanta Falcons defeated the Carolina Panthers 25-17. The Falcons improved to 2-6. They will play the Broncos on Sunday. The Panthers are 3-5. They go to Kansas City on Sunday. The Falcons ran 66 offensive plays for 401 yards, 270 yards on 30 passes, 131 yards on 36 runs. They averaged 6.08 yards per play. Carolina Panthers ran 49 plays for 304 yards, 157 passing on 27 attempts, 147 on 22 runs. They averaged 6.20 yards per play. First downs were 28 for the Falcons, 18 for the Panthers. Third down conversions were not good on either side. 3 for 9 for Atlanta, 33.3%. 2 for 10 for Carolina, 20%. Fourth down conversions, 1 for 3 for Carolina at 33.3%. No fourth down attempts for the Falcons. Defensively, the Falcons had 34 tackles, 21 solo with 3 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 3 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 6 times for 63 yards. Time of possession, 36 minutes, 30 seconds. This makes them ball hawks. Carolina Panthers defense, 42 tackles, 16 solo with 2 sacks, no forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 6 times for 30 yards. Time of possession, 23 minutes, 30 seconds. Closing line was the Panthers -1. Margin was 8. Over under was at 52. The two teams combined for 42 points, so this finished under the total. They had 705 total yards of offense and 115 plays, averaging 6.13 yards per play. I picked the Panthers to win 28-17. Lost that straight up pick, and I also lost the ATS pick, as I also took the Panthers to cover the point spread, which they don't, losing by 8. Colts at the Lions. Indy wins this one 41-21. The Colts are now 5-2. They will host the Baltimore Ravens on Sunday, while the 3-4 Lions travel to Minneapolis to face the Vikings in Week 9. Total yards and plays for the Colts, they ran 73 offensive plays for 366 yards, 247 passing on 34 attempts, 119 on 39 rushes. They averaged 5.01 yards per play. The Lions had 326 yards on 55 offensive plays, 297 on 42 passes, 29 on 13 rushes. Average yards per play, 5.93. Indy had 26 first downs versus the Lions 20. Both teams were 7 for 14 on third down conversions, 50%. Colts converted 1 for 1 on fourth down. The Lions were 0 for 1. Indianapolis defense had 41 tackles, 32 solo with 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, an interception return for a touchdown. So there was a defensive score in this game for Indianapolis. They were penalized 3 times for 19 yards. Time of possession was 37 minutes, 46 seconds. This makes the Colts ball hawks. Lions defense at 52 tackles, 26 solo with 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, no passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 6 times, or rather 4 times, for 76 yards. Time of possession was only 22 minutes and 14 seconds. Closing line was Indianapolis -3.5. Margin was 20 points. Over under at close was 49. The two teams combined for 62 points, so this finished over the total. There was 692 yards and 128 offensive plays by the two teams, averaging 5.41 yards per play. I picked the Colts to win 24-14, and I also picked them to cover the 3.5 points. They did so with ease, winning by 20, so I got the win in both of those picks. Raiders at the Browns. Vegas wins 16-6. Raiders are now 4-3. They travel to Los Angeles on Sunday to face the Chargers. Browns go into their bye week at 5-3. Their next game will be November 15th when they host Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Raiders ran 69 offensive plays for 309 yards. Only 101 yards passing on 24 attempts and 208 yards rushing on 45 attempts. Average yards per play was 4.48. The Browns had 223 yards. They ran 47 offensive plays. 25 passes for 122 yards. 22 rushes for 101. Average yards per play was 4.74. Vegas had 24 first downs. Cleveland had 14. The Raiders were 8 for 14 on third down attempts, 57.1%. Fourth down conversions was 2 for 2. The Browns were 3 for 10 on third downs at 30%, and they were also 2 for 2 on fourth down. The Raiders defense recorded 32 tackles, 24 solo with no sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 25 yards. Time of possession was 37 minutes, 43 seconds. This makes them ball hogs. The Browns defense had 46 tackles, 10 solo with 2 sacks, both from Olivier Vernon. 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were flagged 7 times for 59 yards. Time of possession was 22 minutes and 17 seconds. Closing line was the Browns -1. Margin was 10 points. Over-under at close 47.5. There were only 22 points scored by the two teams, making it the lowest scoring game in Week 8. There was only 532 yards of offense and 116 offensive plays. Average yards per play was 4.59. I picked the Raiders to win 27-13. I initially picked Cleveland, but I changed my pick over the weekend on Saturday. So I picked the Raiders here to win 27-13, and I also picked them to cover the 1 point as the road dog, and they did both. Meanwhile, in Miami, the Dolphins defeat the LA Rams 28-17. Miami is now 4-3. They're off to Arizona to play the Cardinals on Sunday, while the 5-3 Rams go into the bye week. We'll see them again on November 15th against Russell Wilson and the Seahawks. All right, the Dolphins ran 47 offensive plays for only 145 yards. 90 yards on 22 passes, 55 yards on 25 rushes. Average yards per play, only 3.09. The LA Rams ran 90 offensive plays for 471 yards. 340 on 61 passes, and 131 on 29 rushes. They averaged 5.23 yards per play on offense. First downs, big advantage to the LA Rams, nearly a 4-1 advantage. The Rams had 31 first downs, the Dolphins only had 8. LA hit 7 of 17 on third down conversions for 41.2%, 0 for 1 on fourth down. Miami was 3 for 12 on third down for 25% and no fourth down attempts. Miami's defense had 50 tackles, 8 solo with 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a season-high 13 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and 1 touchdown, that being the 78-yard fumble return for a score by Andrew Van Ginkel. The Dolphins were penalized 3 times for 30 yards. Time of possession was 23 minutes and 31 seconds. The Los Angeles Rams defense recorded 29 sacks, 9 or 29 tackles rather, 9 solo. They sacked Tua only 1 time. They had 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, no interceptions or touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 45 yards. Time of possession was 36 minutes, 29 seconds. That makes them Ball Hawks. Closing line was LA minus 3.5. Margin was 11. Over under at close 46.5. Total points was 45. So they just missed that number by a little. The two teams combined for 616 yards of offense on 137 plays, averaging 4.5 yards per play. I picked LA to win 27-20, and I also picked them to cover the 3.5 points. I lost both those picks. Vikings at the Packers. Minnesota wins 28-22. Vikings go to 2-5. They will host the Lions on Sunday. The Packers, with the loss, drops to 5-2. They will play tonight in San Francisco against the 49ers. Kirk Cousins. Well, like I said, we're not doing individual numbers, but Kirk Cousins, he was pretty good in this game. The Vikings had 324 yards on 48 offensive plays, 151 yards on 14 passes, 173 on 34 runs. Average yards per play was 6.75. Green Bay had 400 yards on 65 plays, 291 on 41 passes, 109 on 24 runs. Average yards per play 6.15. The Packers had 24 first downs to the Vikings 20. As for third down conversions, the Vikings were 4 for 8 for 50%. Packers were 5 for 11 at 45.5%. Minnesota attempted 1 fourth down and converted it. Packers converted 3 of 5 on fourth down for 60%. Vikings defense at 47 tackles, 29 solo with 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 7 times for 36 yards. Time of possession was 27 minutes and 48 seconds. The Packers defense at 40 tackles, 25 solo with 1 sack, 1 and zeros across the board everywhere else. They had no forced fumbles. They had no passes defensed, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 9 times for 85 yards. Time of possession was 32 minutes and 12 seconds. Closing line was Green Bay minus 5.5. Margin was 6. Over-under was at 47 at close. The two teams finished over that mark as they combined for 50 points. They also combined for 724 yards and 113 offensive plays, averaging 6.41 yards per play. I picked Green Bay to win 34-17 because they were the better team. But it was Minnesota who got the win, so I take the loss straight up. And I also took the loss against the spread as I picked Green Bay to cover the 5.5 points. They lose by 6. So Minnesota gets this one outright. Patriots at Bills. Buffalo wins 24-21. Now about the Buffalo Bills. They're 6-2. And right now in cruise control in the AFC East. They will host Russell Wilson and the Seahawks on Sunday. While the New England Patriots, looks like they're done. They're at 2-5, and they play the Jets at the Meadowlands on Monday night. Buffalo Bills ran 56 offensive plays for 339 yards, 149 on 18 passes, and 190 on 38 rushes. They averaged 6.05 yards per play. New England had 349 yards on 59 offensive plays, 161 on 25 passes, and 188 on 34 runs. So both teams ran the ball effectively in this game. Average yards per play for the Patriots was 5.92. First down, slight advantage to the Bills. They had 22 to the Patriots 20. All right, third down conversions, 5 of 11 for Buffalo, 45.5%. 5 for 10 for New England at 50%. No fourth down attempts on either side. Buffalo's defense had 52 tackles, 46 solo, with 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, no passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 30 yards, time of possession 29 minutes and 14 seconds. New England's defense had 39 tackles, 17 solo, with 1 sack, no forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 35 yards. Time of possession was 30 minutes and 46 seconds. Closing line was Buffalo -4. Margin was 3. Over under at close, 41.5. The two teams combined for 45 points, finishing over the total, plus 688 yards of offense on 115 plays, averaging 5.98 yards per play. I picked Buffalo to win straight up 27-17, so I get the win there. I picked them to cover the 4 points, but since they only won by 3, New England got the cover as the road underdog, so I lost that ATS bet. Alright, Jets and the Chiefs, and this game pretty much went the way you'd expect. Kansas City wins big 35-9. Chiefs are now 7-1. They will host the Carolina Panthers on Sunday afternoon, while the Jets dropped to their worst start in franchise history, or at least tied for their worst start in franchise history at 0-8. They will host the Patriots on Monday Night Football. Kansas City Chiefs ran 68 offensive plays for 496 yards, 446 on 47 passes, only 50 on 21 runs. Average yards per play were a crisp 7.29. The Jets ran 55 offensive plays for only 221 yards, 128 on 30 passes, 93 on 25 runs. Average yards per play, 4.02. Kansas City had 25 first downs to New York's 13. Chiefs, no problems with third down conversions. They were 7 for 13 at 53.8%. Can't say the same, though, for the New York Jets. They were 2 for 12 on third down for 16.7%. Fourth down attempts, 1 for 3 for the Chiefs at 33.3%. And a perfect 2 for 2 for the Jets. KC's defense had 36 tackles, 20 solo, with 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 7 times for 61 yards. Time of possession was 31 minutes and 30 seconds. The New York Jets defense had 45 tackles, 19 solo, with no sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were flagged 3 times for 25 yards. Time of possession was 28 minutes and 30 seconds. Closing line was Kansas City -19.5. Margin was 26 points. Over under at close was 49, and they came very, very close to it at 44, finishing under the total. Two teams combined for 717 yards and 123 offensive plays, averaging 5.83 yards per play. I took the Chiefs to win in a rout 44-10, and I picked them to cover the college-style point spread of 19.5 points, and I won both of those picks. All right, game of the week, Steelers at Ravens. Steelers win 28-24. As they improved to 7-0 for the first time since 1978. They will travel to Dallas to face the injury-riddled Cowboys on Sunday. While the 5-2 Ravens also hit the road, they go to Indianapolis to face Phillip Rivers and the Colts. Steelers ran 48 offensive plays for 221 yards. Only 173 yards passing on 32 passes, and 48 yards on 16 rushes. They averaged 4.60 yards per play. The Ravens ran 75 offensive plays for 457 yards, 192 on 28 passes, 265 on 47 rushes. Now, keep in mind, this was a Steelers defense that averaged about 68 yards rushing per game, and they gave up 265 to the Ravens. Baltimore's average yards per play was 6.09. The Ravens had 25 first downs, the Steelers 19. Third down conversions, 8 for 15 for the Ravens at 53.3%, and 1 for 2 on fourth down. Steelers were 3 for 9 on third downs, 33.3%, and no fourth down attempts. Steelers defense, 58 tackles, 42 solo, 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, 4 passes defensed, 2 interceptions, and a touchdown that from an INT return. The Steelers were flagged 3 times for 30 yards. Time of possession was 24 minutes and 38 seconds. The Ravens defense had 33 tackles, 19 solo with 2 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 9 times for a whopping 110 yards. Time of possession, 35 minutes, 22 seconds. That makes the Ravens ball hawks. So this is the 5th team in ball hawk territory that's possession of 35 minutes or more, whether the game goes to overtime or not. Closing line was Baltimore -4. Margin was 4. Over-under was 44. That's a lot of 4s. The two teams combined for 52 points, so they finished over the total. There was 678 yards and 123 offensive plays. The average yards per play combined by both teams was 5.51. I picked Pittsburgh to win 26-20. And I also picked them to cover the 4 points as the road underdog, and they won by 4, so they do get the cover. So that's a win both ways. Titans at the Bengals. Cincinnati wins 31-20. The Bengals improved to 2-5-1 going into the bye week. They will play the aforementioned Steelers at Heinz Field when they return to action on November 15th. Meanwhile, that's back-to-back losses for the Titans after a 5-0 start. They're now 5-2. They will host the Chicago Bears on Sunday. And here's an interesting note here, too. The loser of this game will have a 3-game losing streak. The loser of the Chicago-Tennessee game will have a 3-game losing streak. All right, the Bengals, 70 offensive plays, 367 yards. 249 on 38 passes, 118 on 32 runs, average yards per play 5.24. Tennessee, 441 yards on 59 offensive plays, 223 on 30 passes, 218 on 29 runs, average yards per play 7.47. All right, both teams had 27 first downs, and both teams were solid in late down situations. The Bengals were 10 for 15 on third down for 66.7% and 1 for 1 on fourth down. So combined on third and fourth downs, they were 11 of 16. The Titans were 5 for 9 on third downs for 55.6% and 1 for 1 on fourth downs. They went a combined 6 for 10 in late down situations. So both of these teams thrived on third and fourth downs in this game. The Bengals defense had 39 tackles, 22 solo with 1 sack, no forced fumbles, 4 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 7 times for 45 yards. Time of possession 35 minutes and 57 seconds. That makes the Bengals ball hawks. Tennessee's defense had 44 tackles, 16 solo with no sacks, no forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 7 times for 68 yards. Time of possession was 24 minutes and 3 seconds. Closing line was Tennessee -7, margin 11 points. Over-under at close was 49. They barely got over that number at 51. The two teams combined for 808 yards and 129 offensive plays, averaging 6.26 yards per play. I picked Tennessee to win 27-23, so I lost the straight-up pick. However, I did pick Cincinnati to cover the 7 points, and since they won outright by 11, that's a win. So now I'm 5-4, both straight up and against the spread this week. All right, on to the late games. Chargers at the Broncos. Denver, who was down 24-3 in the third quarter, rallied and beat the Chargers 31-30. So Denver's at 3-4. They go to Atlanta on Sunday. while the Chargers fall into the basement of the AFC West by themselves at 2-5. They will host the Raiders on Sunday. Broncos ran 57 offensive plays for 351 yards, 243 on 41 passes, and only 108 yards on 16 rushes. Average yards per play was a crisp 6.16. The Chargers ran 82 offensive plays for 485 yards, 275 on 44 passes, and 210 on 38 rushes. They averaged 5.91 yards per play. LA had 28 first downs, Denver had 17. Third down conversions, Broncos were 5 of 13 for 38.5% and no fourth down attempts. Chargers were 7 of 16, 43.8% and 0 for 1 on fourth down. Broncos defense recorded 61 tackles, 37 solo with 2 sacks, no forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, 2 interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 8 times for 90 yards. Make that 8 times for 70 yards. Time of possession was 24 minutes and 7 seconds. The LA Chargers had 36 tackles from their defense, 20 of those solo tackles, 4 sacks on Drew Lock, no forced fumbles, 6 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 6 times for 67 yards. Time of possession was 35 minutes and 53 seconds, and that makes the LA Chargers ball hawks, although they lost the game. We've seen a lot of that this week. Closing line was the Chargers -3. Margin was 1. Over-under at close was 45. The two teams scored 61 points combined, with 836 yards of offense and 139 plays, averaging 6.01 yards per play. I picked LA to win 23-21, lost the straight-up pick, but I got the Denver Broncos to cover LA's 3-point spread, and they won by a point, so they get the cover, and I win that pick. Saints at the Bears. New Orleans wins in overtime, 26-23. New Orleans is now 5-2. They got a big Sunday night tilt in Tampa against Tom Brady and the Bucs coming up next, while the 5-3 Bears travel to Nashville to face the Tennessee Titans. And as I said, the loser of that game will have a 3-game losing streak. The Saints ran 71 offensive plays for 394 yards, 272 on 41 passes, 122 on 30 rushes. They averaged 5.55 yards per play. The Chicago Bears ran 65 offensive plays for 329 yards, 233 on 41 passes, and 96 on 24 runs. They averaged 5.06 yards per play. First downs favored New Orleans, 23-18. Neither team was great on third down. The Saints just 2 of 13. That's 15.4%. The Bears 5 of 15, 33.3%. And both teams were 2 for 3 on fourth down. The Saints defense at 49 tackles, 25 solo, sacked Nick Foles 5 times, no forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 5 times for 45 yards. Time of possession, 35 minutes, 15 seconds. And even though this game went into OT, that makes the Saints ball hawks. Chicago's defense at 58 tackles, 37 solo, with 1 sack on Drew Brees, 3 forced fumbles, 3 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were penalized 7 times for 53 yards. Time of possession was 33 minutes and 9 seconds. Closing line was New Orleans -5. Margin was 3 points. Over-under at close was 41. The two teams went over that total at 49. There was 723 yards of offense on 136 plays. Average yards per play by the two teams combined was 5.32. I picked the Saints to win 31-17. So I got the win straight up, but I lost ATS as I had New Orleans covering the 5 points and they only won by 3. So Chicago, as the home underdog, covered the points in this game. 49ers at Seahawks. Seattle wins 37-27. The NFC West leading Hawks go to 6-1 as they venture to Buffalo to face the Bills on Sunday. The Niners drop back to 500 at 4-4 as they will host the Green Bay Packers later this evening. The Seattle Seahawks ran 65 offensive plays for 350 yards, 249 on 37 passes, 101 on 28 rushes. Average yards per play, 5.38. 49ers had 351 yards on 63 offensive plays, 299 on 41 passes, and 52 yards on 22 runs. Average yards per play, 5.57. First downs favored Seattle, albeit barely, 27 to San Francisco's 24. Both teams were pretty good on third down conversions. Seattle was 9 of 15 for 60%. San Francisco 6 of 13 for 46.2%. They were also 2 for 2 on fourth down, while the Seahawks did not attempt the fourth down play. Seattle's defense recorded 43 tackles, 20 solo with 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, 1 interception, and no touchdowns. They had 6 penalties for 30 yards. Time of possession was 38 minutes and 58 seconds. So Seattle does win the time of possession battle in this game. San Francisco's defense had 45 tackles, 26 solo with 2 sacks, no forced fumbles, 2 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. They were flagged 6 times for 36 yards. Time of possession was 29 minutes and 2 seconds. Closing line was Seattle -1. Margin was 10 points. Over under at close 54.5. They shot over that total at 64 points. Two teams combined for 701 yards of offense on 128 plays, averaging 5.48 yards per play. I did pick Seattle to win straight up 27-23 and to cover the 1 point. They won by 10, so I got both of those picks right. All right, Sunday Night Football. You had the Dallas Cowboys at the Philadelphia Eagles in a battle for first place in the worst division in football, the NFC East. And the best of the worst ends up being the Philadelphia Eagles as they win 23-9. The Eagles are now 3-4-1 as they go into their bye week. We'll see them again on November 15th. As they'll play their second game with the Giants, this time at the Meadowlands. Meanwhile, the dumpster fire that is the Dallas Cowboys is now 2-6. They will host the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday, so it gets no easier for Mike McCarthy's clan. The Eagles ran 54 offensive plays for only 222 yards. 103 on 28 passes, and 119 on 26 runs. They averaged 4.11 yards per play. The Cowboys ran 76 plays and only amassed 265 yards. 132 on 40 passes, and 133 on 36 rushes. They averaged only 3.49 yards per play. First downs favored Dallas 21-18. Fourth down or third down conversions, not great for either team. The Eagles just 3 for 8 for 37.5%. Cowboys 4 for 16, 25%. They were also 2 for 4 on fourth down attempts, whereas Philadelphia was 0 for 3. Eagles defense at 53 tackles, 31 solo with 4 sacks on rookie Ben DiNucci. 2 forced fumbles, 5 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. Philly was flagged 4 times for 28 yards, time of possession only 27 minutes and 10 seconds. The Cowboys defense at 39 tackles, 24 solo. They sat Carson Foles, that doesn't make sense. They sat Carson Wentz 4 times. They had 3 forced fumbles, 5 passes defense. Picked off Carson Wentz twice and had no defensive touchdowns. They were flagged 7 times for 68 yards. Time of possession was 32 minutes, 50 seconds. Closing line was Philadelphia -10. Margin was 14 points. Over under at close 43.5. The two teams combined for just 32 points, so this game finished under the total. There were only 487 yards of offense on 130 plays. Average yards per play was 3.75. Straight up, I took the Eagles to win 26-13, so I won the straight up pick, and I also had them covering the 10-point spread, and I'm happy they did, as I won the ATS pick as well. And that brings us to the end with Monday Night Football. The Bucks at the Giants, and Tampa had to hold on for dear life in this one as they win 25-23. Tampa Bay improves to 6-2 going into their Sunday night clash with the Saints with first place in the NFC South at stake. The Giants played the Buccaneers tough, but again, it's another loss. They're now 1-7 as they go to DC to face the Washington football team on Sunday. All right. The Buccaneers ran 64 offensive plays for 344 yards, 263 on 40 passes, and 81 yards on 24 runs. They averaged 5.38 yards per play. The New York Giants had their highest offensive output in terms of yards in 2020 as they recorded 357 yards on 66 plays, 256 on 42 passes, 101 on 24 runs. They averaged 5.41 yards per play. First down, slight advantage to the Giants 24 to Tampa Bay's 23. Third down conversions, also slight advantage to the Giants. 4 for 11 for New York at 36.4%. 4 for 12 for Tampa at 33.3%. Both teams were perfect on fourth downs. The Bucks were 1 for 1, Giants were 2 for 2. Tampa Bay's defense recorded 43 tackles, 20 solo, with 3 sacks on Daniel Jones, no forced fumbles, 7 passes defense. They picked Danny Dimes off twice and scored no defensive touchdowns. They were penalized 3 times for 20 yards, and they barely won the time of possession battle at 30 minutes and 10 seconds. The New York Giants defense had 44 tackles, 20 solo. They sacked Tom Brady twice, 1 forced fumble, 6 passes defense, no interceptions, and no touchdowns. New York was flagged 7 times for 73 yards. Time of possession was 29 minutes and 50 seconds. So again, Tampa Bay barely wins the time of possession battle in this game. Closing line was Tampa Bay minus 13. The margin was just 2 points. Over-under at close was at 47. They finished a single point over at 48. The two teams combined for 701 yards on 130 offensive plays. Average yards per play was 5.39. I picked Tampa to win 34-13. So I got the straight up pick. But I lost the ATS pick as I had Tampa covering the 13-point spread, but they won by just 2. So the Giants, the home underdog, covers that massive point spread, which was the second biggest on the board, I may add, in Week 8. All right, so in the bye in Week 8, you had the 5-2 Arizona Cardinals, the Houston Texans, and Jacksonville Jaguars, both at 1-6. And the Washington football team at 2-5. All 4 teams will be back in action in Week 9. The Cardinals will host Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. The Washington football team will be home against the New York Giants. And then the Texans and Jaguars will meet for the second time. This time they'll be playing in Jacksonville. So taking a look at my picks, I went 9-5 in my straight up picks. That's 64.3%. So that was kind of an off week. And for the year, I am 85-33-1 for 71.8%. So yeah, I'm around 72%. Oh, this was kind of an off week for me with those 5 losses. Against the spread, I did pretty well. I went 8-6, 57.1%. And for the season, I'm still below 500 at 50, or rather at 58-60 and 1 at 49.2%. All right, so that was a rapid fire edition of the week that was for week number 8 of the NFL. And I hope to be back on schedule by the time we get the week 9 version of the week that was up next week. So be on the lookout for that. And before I go, let me run you through my week 9 power rankings. I made some changes on the fly, and that will reflect in these rankings. All right. So the bottom 4 teams remain the same. The New York Jets at 0-8 remain at number 32. They will host the New England Patriots. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 1-6 stay at number 31. They're home against the Texans. The New York Giants at 1-7 stay at number 30. They go to Washington. And the 1-6 Houston Texans stay at number 29 as they visit Jacksonville. The Dallas Cowboys at 2-6 fall 4 spots to number 28, and it gets no easier for Mike McCarthy and company as they host the undefeated Steelers on Sunday. The New England Patriots are at 2-5. They're also down 4 spots to number 27. They play the Jets on Monday Night Football. So you've got 27 versus 32, and you got 29 versus 31. So you have 4 of the bottom 6 teams in my power rankings playing each other. So there's probably going to be a little bit of a shuffle here next week. We'll see. The Denver Broncos. Or no, not the Denver Broncos. They're coming up. The Washington Football Team at 2-5 moved up 1 spot to number 26. The 3-5 Carolina Panthers fall 3 spots down to 25. That's followed by the 2-6 Atlanta Falcons, jumping up 4 spots to number 24, following their win over the Panthers. They will host the Atlanta Falcons. The Panthers go to Kansas City, while Washington hosts the Giants. At number 23, down 3 spots from last week, are the LA Chargers at 2-5. They will host the division rival Raiders. The Detroit Lions fall 4 spots to number 22. They are 3-4. They go to Minnesota. All right. Up 5 spots to number 21 are the Denver Broncos. They are 3-4, and they travel to Atlanta to face the Falcons this week. Inching up 1 spot to number 20 are the 2-5 Minnesota Vikings. They'll be home against the Lions. At number 19, up 6 spots from last week, the 2-5-1 Cincinnati Bengals. They're into their bye week. Up 1 spot to number 18 are the 3-4-1 Philadelphia Eagles. They're also into their bye week. Our biggest drop in the power rankings this week belongs to the San Francisco 49ers, falling 6 spots to number 17. They are 4-4 as they will host the Green Bay Packers tonight. Down 3 spots to number 16 and going into their bye week with a 5-3 record are the Cleveland Browns. And also falling 6 spots, matching the 49ers for the biggest drop in the power rankings, down to number 15. And into their bye week with a 5-3 record are the Los Angeles Rams. The Indianapolis Colts at 5-2 inches up 1 spot to 14. Same for the Chicago Bears at 5-3. In fact, they fell a spot, the Chicago Bears did. No, they did go up. They're at number 13. up a spot from last week, despite the loss to the Saints. The Las Vegas Raiders at 4-3. They jump 4 spots to number 12. They go to LA to play the Chargers. The Tennessee Titans, back-to-back losses since their 5-0 start. They're at 5-2. They slip 1 spot to number 11. They will host the Chicago Bears in a pivotal game for both teams. Because, as I said before, the loser of this game will drop 3 games in a row. And that brings us to this week's top 10. And coming in at number 10, our biggest jump on the power rankings for week 9, the Miami Dolphins. Moving up 7 spots. They are 4-3 as they go to Arizona to face the Cardinals. Up 3 spots to number 9 with a 6-2 record are the Buffalo Bills. They will get tested this week as Russell Wilson and the Seahawks invade Orchard Park on Sunday. Down 2 spots to number 8 and a 5-2 record are the Green Bay Packers. They are in San Francisco tonight to face the 49ers. Holding steady at number 7 with a 5-2 record and coming off of their bye week is the Arizona Cardinals. They will host Tua Tagovailoa and the Miami Dolphins. Falling 3 spots to number 6 with a 5-2 record are the Baltimore Ravens. They are in Indianapolis. Up 3 spots to number 5 with a 6-1 record are the Seattle Seahawks. They go to Buffalo. And then up 1 spot each to numbers 4 and 3 respectively are the 5-2 New Orleans Saints at number 4 and the 6-2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers at number 3. These 2 teams will play in Tampa on Sunday Night Football. And then our top 2 remain unchanged. The world champion Kansas City Chiefs at 7-1 stay at number 2. They're hosting the Carolina Panthers. And the undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers at 7-0 remains at number 1. They are in Dallas this week. Alright, so that was a rapid fire version of the week that was in the NFL for week number 8. Since I am so doggone late getting this in, again, apologies for that. This lasted election really threw a monkey wrench into everything. So, again, sorry about that, and I hope to get next week's version of the week that was in on time. So, be on the lookout for that. I'm about to get to work because I have my Thursday night pick that I have to make in the next few hours, and I still have to update the team stats for everyone on offense and defense. So, that'll take me about a couple hours. I should be back soon with my Thursday night pick, and then tomorrow we'll wrap up the week 9 preview with the other 13 games on the schedule, including the New Orleans Tampa Bay showdown on Sunday night, and then the less than stellar Monday night divisional clash with the Patriots and Jets. So look out for both those vids coming down the pipe here real soon. Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and ring the bell twice every time I post a new vid. This is Big Al signing off. Thanks for listening. And again, like Lil Wayne once famously said, sorry for the wait. Enjoy the pigskin, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.